All right, so we're back here on another Couch Coach Live. I hate this feedback. So we're back here on. We're previewing the NFC and the AFC South, and I think we got a little static again. I see some feedback now. I'm gonna drop you real quick, Stu, and then I'll bring you back in, and then we'll try that from there. Okay. All right. So yeah. So we got Stu. So I still okay. So I think we okay. All right. So okay. I think we're all set. I think it's no. I think it might be your headset, Malvin.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
The two. We take it out and put it back in.
Yeah. Because I hear feedback in the mic. But so we're gonna continue our NFC.
Anything?
I can't hear the echo no more. I think we're good. I think we're good.
Okay.
So yeah, so we're gonna preview in the NFC and the AFC South. So we're gonna start with the NFC South. Let me bring Stu back in. I think we should be all set, but I'm gonna bring Stu back in. And Stu, yeah, we're here. You here?
Yeah, I'm good. You hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Okay, all right. So we're all set. So, fellas, we'll continue our ninth annual Couch Coach Live NFL preview. So we'll be previewing the NFC and the AFC South. So before we get started, fellas, we definitely let's get it going. So we'll go around the horn, fellas. What is the biggest storyline in the NFC South? I'm gonna go with you first, Stu. Any storylines that you got for this division?
I mean, I think for me, you got to start off with Tampa Bay, right? I mean, it's the best team in the NFC South. You know, you have a quarterback who's coming off of the year where he threw for almost 5,000 yards and 44 touchdowns, but he's also 44 years old. He had one foot out the door. I mean, he was retired as of, March of this year. He was retired. He was done playing football. And now all of a sudden he's back and he's ready to go. So you do have to wonder. I mean, Tom's the GOAT. And when Tom does something, you know he does do it with all of his effort. But you do kind of have to wonder if maybe there is one foot out the door mentality with Tom Brady. I mean, coming in knowing that he was already retired, then he came back and all those kinds of things. That receiving core isn't great outside of Mike Evans. I know they got some injuries. They brought in the kid from Atlanta to see if they could shore it up. But other than that, there's some storylines. And then you look at Carolina. I think that's the other big storyline in the conference as well, is who's going to win that job? Is it Baker? Is it Sam Darnold? Or heck, is it even Matt Corral? That's something you got to keep an eye on down there as well. Is they gave him a 5th-round pick to get Baker Mayfield. Last year they gave up a 2nd and a 3rd, I believe it was, to get Sam Darnold. And then this year in the 3rd round, they drafted Matt Corral. Matt Rule's on the hot seat, and for me, that's one of the big storylines as well.
Okay. Maui, what you got?
Oh man, definitely start off like Stuart. Start with the Bucks. I'm gonna say the question is the Bucks are they still the kings of the NFC South? Are they gonna hold on to that? Because they're not as strong. They've been getting weaker and weaker every year. Even though we know what Brady do, because sometimes he could work with less. But that are they still going to be those top dogs? Are the Saints the real kings of that division? They got a nice little receiving core down there now, but they still got a new coach. It is Winston, you know what I mean? But is the quarterback thing going to be like, yeah, right. I see you smiling, Stuart. I'm trying. Is he? Is it really what But there's the Kamara's there, Ingram's there. Like, it's still Thomas coming back. It's still some things there that they've been beating the Bucks. You know what I'm saying, the last few times. So, and then I'm not going to throw the Falcons. I know they really don't have anything, but what to expect? I'm thinking of the 2020. What were they called? The Washington football team. You remember that? Remember that coach? You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah,
yeah. You didn't know what to expect, and they still was able to do something, That was the year y'all won the division, right?
2020, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, I'm looking at that well, you don't know anything. I was talking to a guy today. I I asked him. He's a Falcon fan. His name was Brett. I'm out Wakefield, Virginia, and he was like, "Man, he just nonchalantly didn't know what, you know." So I feel like it's a bunch of storylines. This is a very interesting division, and definitely the quarterback issue with the Panthers, you know. But maybe the Panthers see something we don't see because this is Brady's last year. He may not be in his division next year, so maybe they looking at Baker might be the one. But anyway, so I got it's a few storylines there.
So me, it's a few. Obviously, I almost feel like this is deja vu in Carolina, where I think
Right.
it's funny
Yeah.
because if we would have been sitting here last year, and probably I guarantee if you pull the tape from last year, we have probably said the same sentiments that we were going to say
Right.
about Baker Mayfield that we said with Sam Darnold last year, where hey,
Right.
he gets that chance, but obviously Baker's on a way bigger scale than obviously than Sam Donald. Obviously, he's won a playoff game. So he's been there number one overall pick. So you look at that as deja vu is there too. Also, could this be the last dance in Tampa Bay? Like to me, like it's one of the things where
Right.
you think we think people say well Tom Brady can play till he's 50. I mean he's about 5 years away from being 50. So, but we're gonna preface that we don't definitely think that's gonna happen because definitely if you look at just how the influx of him, one day he retired, then 7 weeks later he said I'm back. So
Right.
those one things where even if Tampa's gonna have to someone have a strong stance regardless if it comes down the line because I don't think they can do this for the next 2 or 3 years with
Hmm.
this just a whole seesaw of hey, are you gonna come back this year or not or what this and the third. So
Right.
so this could
Especially
potentially
especially if they look over at the NFC North and what's going on with Green Bay and Jordan Love, right? Like Tampa
Hmm.
Bay drafted Kyle Trask with the idea of him
him.
potentially being the guy to replace Tom Brady, and Tampa Bay's got to figure out whether that's the guy or not, right? And
Yeah.
all they have to do is look at Green Bay and say Green Bay's not getting that chance to see if Jordan Love's that guy. We need to see. So, like you said, they need to put their foot down at some point and be like, "We can't
Hmm.
play games, Tom. Either you're in or you're out."
Right.
And then also the final one is just a new regime in New Orleans where you look at a guy like a Sean Payton who was there pretty much for 16 years. Now, Dennis Allen steps in
Right.
and then also just the return of Jameis Winston where like this New Orleans Saints team is a team that they're another team where they're intriguing because you look at just
Right.
the fact of hey, they look like a version of playoff team, but
Right.
in the same token, but they've had the Buccaneers number, so you look at
Right.
that those situations where that's a potential down the line. So it's definitely intriguing at what New Orleans they'll be kind of one of those teams that you just don't know what you're gonna get out of this team and how they're gonna respond to obviously Dennis Allen, which we think that's pretty much should be for the most part an easier transition because obviously he was there beforehand, so it should
Hmm.
be like somewhat of a more of a swifter transition than actually bringing in someone from the outside. So that's definitely going to be intriguing. So, fellas, let's talk about the breakout player in the NFC South. I'm gonna go with you first, dude. Who you looking at as your breakout player?
I don't know if this is going to be controversial or not because, I mean, he's shown flashes, I think, of being good, but I've been really hard on him. I've actually torn him down a lot in my podcast. But I'm going to go with Jameis. You look at the first couple weeks of the year, that
Good.
Packers game, he threw for 5 touchdowns and all that stuff. And, I said this when I was doing my quarterback rankings with Jeff, and when we got to Jameis,
Yep.
right before he got hurt, the first couple weeks of the year, he was kind of hesitant to throw that deep ball. He was playing it safe, being very dink and dunkish. But towards the end there, right before he got hurt, he was starting to unleash it and really starting to become a guy who I think could have been one of a top 10, top 15 quarterback in the league last year. I mean, he was on track to throw for, I think, 33 touchdowns and 7 picks had he not gotten hurt. And,
Mm.
you
Mm.
know, he got hurt and we never got to see that. And as of right now, I'm still correct on my takes on Jameis Winston and how I feel about him. But this is a guy who I think has everything to lose
Yeah.
and has to show at this point that he is the guy that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers drafted number 1 overall in 2015.
Right.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
And it's funny that you said it like too, because we look at like a Jameis where he went in at Tampa Bay where he was in that risk it no biscuit.
Yeah.
And you see, like, obviously the 30 interceptions year. Then obviously with that, and like you said, he was more like conservative going into the before he had the injury. So I'm really intrigued now. What he's going to do now is definitely in this scheme. Obviously, with their offensive coordinator, Pete Carmichael, and then also my childhood idol, Ronald Curry, as his quarterbacks coach. So I'm really just curious what they're going to do in that scheme. So, and that's another one too where there's no drop off to what he was accustomed to last year. So this is going to be another one of more of a swifter transition. But yeah, Mario, your breakout player for the NFC South.
Well, as I was, looking up everything today, and I'm gonna give it to Julio. I think he finally with Brady, and I think Brady is the type of person he liked revamping careers. They were dogging Julio today, man, saying that they don't think he got the breath anymore. He's 33, and I think he got an opportunity to be with Brady. Brady gonna feed him the ball, and then they got so many injuries. I think he's got a chance, just like Jameis. I think everybody had him as an elite quarterback, and you got the GOAT, and he's gonna feed you the ball. And I just think that this is a big opportunity for him. You know what I mean? Hey, think about it. All the receivers that Brady had that needed to redo their career. You know what I mean? Think about Moss. Think about, AB. And then Julio's right there. So I'm going to give it to him.
And you know what's funny? So it's all just kind of in full circumstance. You talk about Jameis. You talk about Julio. So a guy that I could potentially be the Julio Jones, not saying from a number standpoint, a statistical standpoint.
Right.
Drake London. It's something about that Atlanta team is really intriguing, which I'll talk about a little bit later in this part. Something about Drake London in that offense combined with a guy like a Kyle Pitts, I definitely think it's going to be somewhat of a dynamic offense. Like I said, I think people look at Atlanta kind of like a little sketchy at best. But they got some pieces there, and I'll kind of allude a little bit more to kind of my thoughts about Atlanta a little bit later. But I think he's a guy that I think he can be a guy that could be a 1,000-yard receiver this year coming up. I think he could be Marcus Mariota's blanket between him and Kyle Pitts. So that's why I'm looking at him. He's a big physical wide receiver. And I think, Stu, you were high on him too. I think when we –
from what Drake London was one of my guys. Yeah.
From a draft standpoint. I remember we talked about him when we did the mock in April. I knew you had some real good analysis about him. I mean, he was a guy, I really kind of fed off of you because really, who really watched Pac-12 football? And then just his motor, top off the defense. I think that's one thing too, where you got two jump ball guys, so it's like he'll be one of them. So the former Falcons wide receiver now, I think that Julio Jones, as far as a impact, the new Julio Jones from a statistical, not what he can possibly do. I'm not gonna say he's gonna be the Julio Jones, but from a statistical standpoint, he could be the Julio Jones. But yeah. So, fellas, dark horse team in the NFC South. Stu, what you got?
What you got, Stu? What you got?
Well, I did my NFC South standing predictions. I dropped those this week, Monday. So I guess yesterday at the time that we're recording this. And here's the thing. I have the Saints as a 10-win team. I have the Bucks as, I think, a 12-win team or something like that. So for me, I can't really say the Saints are a dark horse team, right? So the dark horse team for me at that point, because I'm high on New Orleans, would have to be, in my opinion, the Carolina Panthers, because when you look at what Carolina has to offer or those types of things and all the, with the quarterback situation, Matt Rule being on his final, leg, I guess, as an NFL coach, like he either gets this right or he's gone next year. He won't be there to see Bryce Young or C.J. Stroud taking snaps for him. He won't be there to see it. And so you look at how everything's got to go right. If CMC can play more than 5 games like he has the last 2 years, where he's played a total of 10 in the last 2 seasons, if he can play more than 5 games, I'm a big Baker guy. I've been on Baker Mayfield's train for a long time. If Baker can play the way that he played the year he took them to the playoff, took the Browns to the playoffs, you bring in DJ Moore, you got CMC, and you look at what they can do. I think this could be a team where when all cylinders are clicking, they could be hovering around 9 wins next year, and we're talking about Carolina being a wild card team.
Damn.
Yeah.
Dude, man, you've been over here looking at my notes.
Who you got, Maui?
I mean, I got the Saints at the 10 game winning team too, but what I heard was this division is very intriguing, but I'm gonna say the Saints because they were doing well before Winston got hurt. They were doing decent. They hired a coach that's somewhat in house. He was very good when it comes to the defense, and they got Landry now. They got a decent. Thomas is coming back. Komura is he still gonna get suspended? Anybody know? I heard some say they was probably gonna get suspended next year. Then they got
Olave draft as well.
Right. I think they're gonna be all right. Like, I'm gonna tell you, the weird thing is, I'm gonna say the Saints. I'm gonna say that, but I'm telling you, man. What if Brady? I don't want him to get hurt, but what if Brady get hurt? Like that, this division is like it'd be like a toss up. Like, you know what I mean? Because you wouldn't know what can happen.
It'd be a lot like the NFC East.
Right.
Yeah.
It would be
8 wins.
Right. 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 So I'm saying the Saints, but I really do think that most likely the Bucks gonna figure out a way. You know what I mean? But I'm gonna say the Saints.
Yeah. So when I look at dark horse, because I still think Tampa Bay and New Orleans are gonna be on a collision course to make the playoff.
Mm-hmm.
Call me crazy. I think Atlanta's gonna be a team. People think that this is gonna be a suck for CJ Stroud or suck for for Bryce for Bryce from pretty much sucking for being bad for the 2 Southern California quarterbacks and TJ and Bryce, but not so fast, my friend. Atlanta. And I'm not saying that this team is going to make the playoffs, but Atlanta's going to be one of those teams that, and I've had, shout out to people who've been doing our previews so far. And a lot of people are looking at Atlanta like, oh, that's going to be like a bona fide win. I'm like, no. Like, I look at this Atlanta Falcons team, people look at, they got Marcus Mariota, but people got to remember, he's team back up with Arthur Smith. They made magic together in Tennessee. So I look at that continuity there. I look at that as a potential. I'm not saying that Atlanta's going to be a double-digit win team, but I think they could potentially be playing meaningful football and could become a spoiler of the teams in December and January. So not necessarily saying they'll be a team. I don't think they're going to make the playoffs, but I don't think they're going to be as bad as many. Because I think like USA Today had them winning like 5 games or less than 5 games. So no.
Yeah, I got but I've heard today that I got a question. Do y'all feel like they really are just playing to not make the playoffs so they can get a number 1 pick?
I don't know.
That team's not good. And I don't think their quarterback's good either. But we'll save that for a different segment in this show.
Yeah, I don't think. I'm gonna put it this way. I don't think Marcus Mariota is gonna be like a 4,000 prolific yard quarterback, but I think he's gonna get the job done to a point where they're gonna win some games and they're gonna scare some people. They're gonna be some, like a lot of people have been talking, especially you AFC South guys. Looking at their schedule, and I've been talking, they're like, oh, well, we got, people saying Atlanta, some of the teams I've talked to, they're like, oh, looking at their win, we can beat Carolina. I'm like, not necessarily not AFC South, but the NFC South. A lot of
Mhm.
teams they're like, well, we got to give me against Atlanta. I'm like, nah, not so fast. They're a team. They're intriguing. Not saying that they're gonna win 10 games, but they're gonna be
Right.
one of the ones that one.
I,
It's gonna be almost be like they're gonna have like when Detroit beat Arizona the Sunday before
right.
Christmas.
Right.
It's gonna
It's
be like
almost
those type of games that's gonna
right.
happen with them.
Right. I believe they're intriguing too because you just don't know what you're going to get just yet.
Yeah.
Like even when I asked Brett, that's a Atlanta Falcon fan, he just it's like he still was living in the past. He don't know what's coming. And I said, man, well, watch the show because I said I got some guys probably gonna make because I'm sure they're gonna dictate and tell you some things to look forward to. But I said the same thing. I was like, man, at least they starting brand new. They going, it is what it is. Just hopefully they don't be the Jets. But anyway,
Poor Jets, man. Hey, speaking of that, shout out to my 15 South Oak brother and Mackay Beckley, man. Get well, big fella.
yeah.
We're praying for you, big fella. So
And Zach Wilson's 11.
yeah, unfortunately. So, fellas, your hot take for the NFC South. Stu, you're a stickler for hot takes. I'm dying to hear yours.
Marcus Mariota's a one and done in Atlanta. This is it. Like this guy has, you talked about it with Arthur Smith, but here's the thing, coach. He's never thrown for over 20 touchdowns more than once in his career. And that was 26, and that was in like 2014 or 2013. That was the best year of his career. Ever since then, he hasn't really done much throwing the football. What I don't think people understand, and like people are going to look at Matt Ryan's numbers and say he threw 20 touchdowns and 13 picks last year and be like, that's not impressive. But what people don't understand is he masked a lot of holes there for that Atlanta team. He made up for a lot of problems that Atlanta has, and I think they're going to be kind of shown and exposed this year. And I think this is going to be a team right up there with the Bears and the Texans and the Seahawks that's fighting for that chance to get Bryce Young or C.J. Stroud coming next year and give these Atlanta fans a little something to look forward to because this isn't a great team. And when Marcus was great, he had to have a great team around him. A lot of guys who could support him because he's not a guy who can carry that. I think he's one and done in Atlanta as far as the starter goes. I know they signed him to like a 2-year deal, but I think it'll be one of those where he's serving the mentor backup role that Teddy Bridgewater serves a lot of times come this time next year.
So we're gonna see some Desmond Ritter, Stu.
I think,
Let's get a little hot. Let's get a little bit hot.
In my opinion, from you talk about throwing the football standpoint,
yeah,
not everything else that Marcus Mariota brings, but strictly from throwing the football standpoint, Desmond Ritter's the better quarterback. Just from that point of view, because I promise you this: if I have said this in the quarterback rankings when I got to Marcus Mariota and I talked over with Jeff, if I guarantee you, those fans sitting up there in Atlanta at training camp watching Marcus Mariota and watching Desmond Ritter throw the football, they're looking at it come out of Desmond Ritter's hands and say, that ball looks a little different. That ball gets to the receiver a little faster. That ball has a little more behind it when Desmond Ritter throws it. It looks different. I guarantee you that's what some fans that are in Atlanta sitting there at training camp watching, I guarantee you that's what they're saying. Marcus Mariota's more accurate, can actually hit the broadside of a barn, unlike Desmond Ritter. But when it comes to throwing the football, Desmond Ritter, I think, is the better quarterback.
Okay. Maui, what's your hot take for the
Baker Mayfield realized he was happier in Cleveland than Carolina Panthers.
Is that a hot take, though? I think that seems more likely than.
But I'm trying to word it right. But
yeah,
I guess what I'm saying is Baker's going to figure out that his team was more of his team than not just him. I guess you could say. You know what I mean?
Grass is always greener, right?
Yeah. But I feel like I've never seen a quarterback have almost everything. You know what I mean? When he was in Cleveland, he had a defense. He got the coaches that he wanted. He had receivers. The only thing I would give him is that I wonder if he shouldn't have played. I mean, he was tough last season. That shoulder was bad. I wonder if he shouldn't have played so long on that injured shoulder. I wonder if that's going to hurt him in his future.
He should have shut it down. That's what Lamar did.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but that's
yeah,
that contract here, the pressure.
and the pressure. Yeah, the pressure. Man, So I wonder if you know if the things that he did, like with the Twitter and all those certain things, the prima donna things that he was doing, is that going to be shut? Is that going to calm down? But as the future go, him being with the Panthers.
All right. And let's see. So I got one hot take for NFC South. I think Drake London is going to be a Pro Bowl wide receiver this year. He'll be a 1K yard receiver. So we'll put a bow on the South real quick, NFC South. We'll do our predictions. So Stu, I want you to go around the horn, give your predictions, record wise.
Yeah. So for the NFC South, I have the Bucks at 13-4. I have the Saints at 10-7, the Panthers at 8-9, and the Falcons sitting there at 3-14.
All right, what you got, Maui?
I got the Bucks 12-5. I got the Saints 10-7. I got Falcons 4-13, and I got the Panthers 8-9.
Okay. I got the Bucks at 11-6, the Saints at 9-8, the Panthers at 7-10, and the Atlanta Falcons at 6-11. All right.
I like it.
Yeah.
Ain't too far away.
Yeah.
It's about the same. It's some games that I was like, man, I don't know. They may win, they may lose.
Yeah. So they'll definitely separate themselves. So,
right.
Fellas, we gotta talk about. We can round out the NFC South. We gotta talk the AFC South, and of course, we watched Stu win because obviously Stu is an Indianapolis Colts fan, so we definitely want to get his take on the AFC South. And we also got our guy, Mike Patton from Touring the AFC South podcast. What's going on, Mike?
Another day in paradise, although it's raining outside Nashville.
Yeah, man. You're always on the grind. Definitely appreciate you for taking time coming here on Couch Coach Live on our virtual couch, man. What's going on?
Another day of nobody wanting to mention the AFC South but me. But it is what it is.
That's why we got you here, and also our guy Stu. So we gotta talk about the AFC South. So, fellas, I'm gonna go around the horn. What is the biggest storyline of the AFC South? I'm gonna go with you first, Mike. Your thoughts on what's the biggest storyline in the AFC South?
Well, I thought about that, and it could be injuries when, Derrick Henry coming back from a foot injury, and Shaquille Leonard news today about his back and not being ready potentially for the start of the season. However, I'm going to stick with the Colts, but go a different story. They're on their, 5th quarterback, I think, or 5th quarterback in the last 5 years with Mr. Matt Ryan. Can Matt Ryan be the answer to get them to the playoffs and be the actual contender that some think they will be? That's going to be the biggest thing to watch. I mean, of course, he was in Atlanta. They flirted with Deshaun Watson. Didn't happen. Now he's in Indianapolis. Can he be the piece to get them where they want to go? That is, to me, the biggest storyline in the AFC South.
All right. Indianapolis Stu. Colts Stu.
Yeah, I look at it. There's a lot of questions. The AFC South, there's a lot of questions there. The Colts, if I were going to choose the Colts, as though Matt Ryan is a big storyline, the wide receiver position would be another one for them. But I think I'm going to focus on the back-to-back division champions, and that being the Tennessee Titans. As much as I despise the Tennessee Titans, let me tell you this, they've been really, really good lately, and they were really impressive last year. When Derrick Henry went down, they still found a way to run the football successfully, and they still found a way to win football games without Derrick Henry. But here's the question. This is the storyline regarding the Titans, and it's number 17, Ryan Tannehill. Can he be the Ryan Tannehill of 2021 or 2020 where he had 33 touchdowns and 7 picks or whatever the numbers were, something like that? Or will he be the guy last year that sparked the Tennessee Titans into drafting Malik Willis? Which Ryan Tannehill are we going to see? For me, that's the biggest storyline, because if we saw I believe the 2021 Ryan Tannehill, the Titans last year were playing for a Super Bowl as opposed to sitting at home watching the Super Bowl, and it just wasn't the case. And I think that's the biggest storyline for me is it all focuses in Nashville and on number 17, Ryan Tannehill.
Oh, I got so many thoughts there, but because I've actually seen him this offseason a few times, but I'm a chill on that. I'm actually gonna see him this weekend too, by the way. Going to training.
Right.
So
Maui, your storyline for the AFC South.
Man, basically the same. Is Matt Ryan really going to be the savior of the Colts? Is the Titans still going to be the kings of the division? Like, big boys coming, big boys back, but he always get hurt. He's been getting hurt a lot, but is he coming back and going to dominate? And then definitely the quarterback. But the main one is I'm a big Trevor Lawrence fan, and I want to know is Doug Peterson the coach that's really going to bring the most out of him? Is he going to transition? Which I think that he's going to, based upon some of the mature choices that he made with his life. But definitely that's what I'm looking at. Those are storylines.
Maz is just simple. Maz is can the Titans recover from last year? Them being number 1 overall seed last year, and then having that pretty much heartbreaking, demoralizing loss to the eventual AFC champion Cincinnati Bengals. Can they come back? And also, to your point, Stu, as far as Ryan Tannehill, the pressure's on now. You got a guy. Not saying like Malik Willis is going to be, but he's there. He's, you might have, some competition down the road. So, hey, not necessarily it's an immediate threat, but it's somebody right behind you. So, that's one of the things that I'm looking at as far as the AFC South. So, fellas, breakout player in the AFC South. This time I'm going to go with you first, dude. What you got?
Yeah, so I thought about this one long and hard, but I just recorded a podcast with a guy who covers the Indianapolis Colts, and that'll be out tomorrow. And so I was given some nuggets, shall I say. And let me say this. A guy everybody should look out for is Nyheim Hines. I think the role he's going to serve in this offense, without the Colts having a number 2 wide receiver, and without the Colts having that threat outside of Michael Pittman for them to throw to, Nyheim Hines is going to serve a big role in this offense, particularly receiving the football wise. Like, he's going to, he may wind up being, as far as yards go and receptions go, he may wind up being the second leading receiver on this football team. I think that's how they're going to try to use him. I know early on in OTAs, he got a lot of reps out there at slot receiver, playing, slot as opposed to running back. Here in training camp, they've kind of reeled it back a little bit. He's playing more running back now in training camp. But I know in OTAs, he was getting a lot of looks at the slot receiver position. So this is a guy who I expect to have a big year coming from Indianapolis, because, Indianapolis, there's a lot of question marks outside of Michael Pittman at the wide receiver position.
All right. What you got, Mike?
Well, I definitely can say you're definitely going to watch Himes do a few things. From what I've heard, definitely heard the same thing in terms of him being in the slot and doing a few things there potentially next season. But I thought about one guy, Michael Pittman at first, Michael Pittman Jr., but I looked at his, and I was like, last year was his breakout year because he doubled his yards and, had 6 TDs. But I'm going to go defensive-wise this choice, and I'm going to go with the Jacksonville Jags player. I'm actually going to go with Josh Allen. This is why I'm going to go with Josh Allen. Look at Josh Allen. His rookie year, he had 10.5 sacks. He was playing with Yannick Ngakoue beside him. The next 2 years, he doesn't total but 10 sacks. So This year, he's got Trayvon Walker on the opposite side. He's got Oluquan on the inside. I mean, he's got a few people around him to take some of the attention away. And then also, you can put him and Trayvon Walker on the same side of the defense and maybe rush the passer as well. So I think with those additional defensive weapons, he gets to at least 13 sacks, 13, 14 sacks this season.
Another guy to look out down there in Jacksonville, and I'm sure I've heard a lot of praise that you heard it the other night in the Hall of Fame game. A guy I was very high on at the linebacker position coming out in the draft is Chad Muma out of Wyoming. That's a guy you got to keep your eye on who could serve a lot of time this year playing linebacker for them, and he can do a lot of different things.
Well, I'll say this: he's got to get past Lloyd first, but
Yeah,
I can
that's true.
definitely see him
Lloyd
being
down
there.
That's
I
true.
can definitely see him being there, third down guy in terms of coming in, maybe for Oluquan sometimes there. If Oluquan
He's a better coverage guy than
yes, definitely.
like he's a guy I would trust to put on a tight end or something like that.
Definitely a better cover guy for sure.
Yep, big time. All right, Maui, your
not-
breakout player.
Staying with the Jags, same thing. Like I'm going Trevor. I'm going Trevor Lawrence. I think that he got married last year. I think that he's on a straight and narrow. Like he almost 12 TDs, 17 interceptions. His rating was down, but that drama is going to be gone. Got a Super Bowl coach. You know what I mean? I don't know. I just I've always liked him. You know what I'm saying? So I just feel like this is his chance. They moving forward. Like, they won 7 games last year. So I feel like, it's really a toss up. And we're not going, it's, you really look at the whole division, like, we've got to see what Matt Ryan's really going to do with the coach. So I just feel like it's just the opportunity for him because I'm not rocking with the Texans this year. So you have nothing to worry about. I'm not even saying they're going to win anything. And I just think that this is his sophomore year. The butterflies is gone and he's going to do pretty good. I think Peterson's going to have him in the right way.
Let me say this: if unfortunately that last game of the year is any indication, I think Trevor Lawrence is going to be just fine.
Yeah.
Right.
And he got continuity. He got Doug there, so he'll be all
yeah,
right.
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like he's going to be all right, yo.
Yeah. So I know you guys, Mike and Stu, you guys cover the AFC South like no other. So it's a guy in the neck of y'all woods that I'm feeling. Buy some Davis Mills stock, please. I love what they're doing with him. Like as far as I think we look at Houston Texans as far as the turnover to David Culley now to to Lovie Smith. But the key component that I love what they did, they kept Pep Hamilton. I think that is such a great, higher, obviously he was very instrumental in Justin Herbert's development his rookie year.
Mm-hmm.
He's back in his office for the second year this West Coast. I love the addition of Kenyon Green, a guy who I, wanted in DC, but obviously, Kenyon Green then coupled with a guy like a Larry McTunstall, they'll go perfect. They, those big physical linemen, especially really conducive for that West Coast offense. And I definitely think he's going to take a leap. I raised your sophomore quarterback to my sophomore QB in Davis Mills. So that's a guy I'm looking forward to seeing. As far as a guy that's going to break out, I think. And like you said, Houston, they're going to be different. They're not going to be, but they got the. That's just like Jacksonville. They got the coach in place. This isn't like a lame duck. This isn't just they got a legitimate coach that's going to command some respect. So it's going to be a little bit.
Here's the thing, Coach. Yeah, that's not all that crazy because behind Mac Jones, the second best rookie quarterback last year was Davis Mills.
Mm.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Yeah, and people can take notice.
And he does have the best wide receiver in the AFC South, in my opinion. Yeah, Brandon Cooks. I definitely said it.
All right.
I knew that one might sting a little.
But yeah, but yeah. So get the next graphic up, fellas. All right. The dark horse team in the AFC South. I'm gonna go with you first, Mike. Who is your dark horse team in the AFC South?
Well, honestly, in all actuality, there is no dark horse in the AFC South. To be honest, there is the Titans and the Colts and everyone else. Basically, is what it is. But if I have to pick another team in this division, I'll go with the Jaguars. The reason why I'll go with the Jaguars is because they have Trevor Lawrence coming back under Doug Peterson. They have the weapons: Marvin Jones, Zay Jones, Kirk, and they have an underrated weapon in Bobby Ingram, which if he can actually catch the ball and stay focused, he could have a Pro Bowl season at tight end.
Right.
And then you have, of course, the additions of on defense. And if they can actually stop the run to where they can just pin their ears back and Walker and Allen can rush the passer, then you might have a little something there. Just saying.
As long as they don't bring Tim Tebow in at tight end again, I think they'll be all right.
Oh, I think that's over with.
Yeah. Hey, the only way he comes back on that team is he's going to serve a dual role on the team. You ready for what the dual role is going to be?
Serving Slurpees.
No. He's going to be special teams player, and he's going to be the chaplain for the team. That's the only way he comes back to play.
Oh, wow. Word.
Or unless the head coach skips flights and go and see his grandkids.
I got other stories about grandkids, but this is a family show.
Correct. Wanted some grandkids, all right. Papa got around, but
right.
I still, to the life of me, I couldn't believe how that story got so much legs so quick. And it's so crazy to think, like, it was so wild to me, like, because, obviously it happened, like, on a Friday or whatever. And then, like, Monday, Tuesday, all the coverage to start ratcheting it up. And I'm like, man, this became a big story. It was wild. Like, it's crazy how it just catapulted to what it was. But, yeah, just to kind of backtrack. But, yeah.
That moron had to be trying to get out of Jackson.
I had to. I'm still trying to figure out. He didn't figure out that he was on camera. I'm still at loss. Like,
the camera crept up on him just like his hand crept up on her.
Right. I mean,
if he bad about the rules, he'd have been in Florida. So, but he'd been on the flight back. But I digress. But he'll be on Fox this year, right? So
he'll be on Fox.
Yeah, so hey, we'll see him every Saturday. Hey,
sanitize your hands or wear gloves or something. Oh, I'm sorry, my bad. It's a family show. Say, hey, how you doing? Oh, hey, yeah. Break a leg,
Oh yeah, that's another thing.
Boy.
Yep. Stu, your dark horse in the AFC South.
I mean, I kind of agree with what Mike said, right? Like, I mean, Titans, Colts, everybody else in the AFC South, but I do think if a team's going to mess around, I think they're going to be a lot better this year. I mean, let me say this. I remember that the Jaguars went 7-9 with Gardner Minshew as their quarterback. And then I'm not really sure what happened and why they stunk so bad the final 2 years, because there's a lot of talent on that football team. A lot of talent. I mean, James Robinson, I think that same year they went 7-9, was a 1,000-yard rusher, maybe 1,100-yard rusher. I can't remember exactly what his numbers were. I mean, Gardner Minshew looked like a young and upcoming guy at that point. You had some receivers, all those kinds of things. Now you look at the squad they have now. Travis Etienne, the first-round pick, just like Nyheim Hines, is probably going to get a lot of receptions coming out of the backfield, all those kinds of things. You look at what they did with Christian Kirk, resetting the wide receiver market. You look at, bringing in Doug Peterson, who turned Carson Wentz into an MVP candidate. We haven't seen Carson Wentz look that good since 2017. Sorry, coach, but we haven't. You look at some of the things that he did. I mean, won the Super Bowl with Nick Foles, right? And then you look at the defense. I mean, I wasn't a big Trayvon Walker guy, but Trayvon Walker was the number 1 overall pick. They've got some good corners. They've got some good secondary defenders, I believe. I mean, You look at Devin Lloyd, Chad Mumba, as I mentioned, as the second linebacker. You got some other guys in there as well. You got Josh Allen coming off the edge as well. Like, this is a very, very talented football team that is much better than the record has shown the last couple of years, and I'm not really sure why they've been as bad as they've been.
Right.
Hey, can I say something about Zay Jones though?
Yeah.
Now, I heard. To me, I think Barry Gordy's the last dragon ought to be suing Zay Jones right now, because at that press conference he looked just like Bruce Leroy when he was signing his contract. No. He's ripped the movie, man. Come on, Zay Jones, man. You know, you bring it back to the 80s with the look, man. What's going on?
Mel, your dark horse.
I mean, I'm gonna keep it the same. Like, I bet Stu y'all went into great details, but I think with the drama that happened and bringing Doug Peterson in, they have leadership now, and somebody that most likely looks like he most likely wants to be there, not going to try to figure out a way to get out. And, you know, he's stepping in there with the respect's going to be towards him because they know for a fact he went to the Super Bowl. And he took really, you know, when nobody thinking the Eagles was going to make their Eagles defense was good, but nobody really thought that they were going to make it there and then beat the Patriots the way they beat them. You know what I mean? It was dominant. Like, Carson Wentz went down. Y'all really thought Nick Foles was going to
No, I thought they were going to get murdered.
Right, you know. So once I saw that, I was like, okay, cool. The organization got somebody that, you know, because I saw Trevor got married. I was like, wow, man, he's like doing the opposite. Like, he's trying, like, that's a mature move that you just got into the league and you get married. Like, you know what I mean? Just like that. I was like, okay, I think now he just focus on football and trying to move forward rather than being like a party guy and, you know, things of that nature. The opposite of what his coach was doing, I guess you could say, you know. So that's what I'm going. I'm going with the Jags. Like you guys said, I just felt like they already had. I was watching something today and looking at some things. I was like, man, they seem like they got talent. They just young. You know what I mean? I said, all they need is leadership. And I think that's the team to look out for. And then, like I said, you know, it's, you know, regardless, they know they're going to be better than the Texans.
Yep.
Let me say this real quick to add on to your Doug Peterson wanting to be there. I don't know if you guys watched any of the Hall of Fame game the other night or not, but they did an interview, you know, pregame with Doug Peterson. He said, I could have had any job I wanted when I came back. I chose to come to Jacksonville. He said he chose to come out of retirement to coach the Jacksonville Jaguars.
I didn't know that.
So you're right with he wants to be there because he wants to be there to coach number 16, Trevor Lawrence.
Right.
Yeah, it's got to be Jacksonville. Obviously, you know, bringing in Doug, the just that. Then obviously, the free agent. You know, a lot of people. You know, like you guys talked about. Obviously, like Evan Ingram, also like Christian Kirk, Zay Jones. I think one of the biggest acquisitions, obviously, because me being a Commanders fan, I think them getting a guy like a Brandon Sheriff, that's another guy I think that could be potentially be a leader for this team. So also, I love that the acquisition for them. And like you said, I think there'll be a team that, you know, that's gonna, you know, not necessarily gonna be the, you know, far as contend for playoffs. It's just like we talked about, like with the Atlanta Falcons, where hey, they'll play some potentially meaningful football in December and could potentially be a spoiler down the line for some teams that are actually jockeying for playoff position in the month December and January. So they'll be there. You'll see almost eerily similar. Sorry, Stu. I mean, back for your Carson Wentz slander. I raised you how Jacksonville was a spoiler last year. So I can see Jacksonville being some in
Still
that
hurts.
position really familiar. Trust me. That Carson Wentz, that cuts deep, bro.
It still hurts. I'm still not over it, man. I'm still not over it.
Yeah, right. But hey, you know, you got a third round pick out of us.
Coach,
So
we haven't won there since 2014. We haven't beaten them in Jacksonville since 2014.
right. Yeah.
All right, sorry. I don't want to get on this
How-
rant right now. This is not the talk I want to be having. But
I know.
It's about as bad as a quarterback spraining both his ankles in the same game. So I gotta do it.
guys, I
Couldn't
know.
help it.
He's coach's problem now, not mine.
Hey, I know. Hey, enjoy that 3rd round pick, buddy.
They got us Matt Ryan, so I'll enjoy it.
Correct. You're welcome. So, fellas, I can get your AFC South hot takes. I'm gonna go with you first, Stu. What you got?
Well, I think for the first time, this is a hot take, but I guess it's not. If you look at some of the things we've talked about here, but I mean, I can't think of the last time. It would probably be since 2015, 14. The Colts are going to win the AFC South. I think. I mean, it's been that long. I was going to say 2018, but Houston won it that year. Then we beat them in the first round. Then I'm pretty sure Tennessee's won it the last 2 years in a row. I think it's been at least 6 years since the Colts have won the AFC champ or not the AFC championship. That's been a longer time, but it's been at least 6 years since I think they've won the AFC South, and I think it's just due time. I think finally we got a guy. Everything I'm hearing, and this isn't quarterback wise, so I'm going to say this strictly leadership wise and what he demands from the team and those types of things. From what I'm hearing, people haven't seen this type of leadership from the quarterback since Peyton Manning. I mean, he's not the player Peyton was, obviously. He's not that type of quarterback, but leadership-wise and demanding the best from his teammates, they haven't seen this from a quarterback since Peyton Manning. And Andrew Luck was a fantastic leader. So that tells you what they think of a guy like Matt Ryan. I look at it, the defense is going to be great. I mean, Shaquille used to be Darius Leonard. You got, Stephon Gilmore, who I've heard everything from training camp is the best player on this defense. He's been showing out all year. You got DeForest Buckner. You've got Yannick Ngakoue from Jacksonville and then from whoever else and wherever else he's been.
Vegas.
You look Kwity Paye as well. I mean, you look at all these different guys that the Colts have brought in. And the kid they got 2 drafts ago in the second round, you look at all this, right? And for me, it's easy to say the Colts, as long as Matt Ryan, just as in the words of Jim Irsay, hits the layups, this team's going to win the AFC South.
Okay, Mike, what you got?
All right, my hot take. Are you ready for this hot take? And this player definitely heated up in the wrong way in OTAs and rookie camp. But Treylon Burks will have 1,000 yards receiving for the Tennessee Titans this year.
I can see it. I mean, who else they got? That's the thing.
Well, they have Robert Woods.
Indiana?
No. They have Robert Woods on the opposite side. He's actually looking healthy and fine. You also have tight end. You have Austin Hooper, who's played with the Cleveland Browns, and also another guy you might want to keep your eye on, Mr. Chig Okonkwo. That guy will definitely do some things this year. So they definitely do have some weapons. As quiet as it's kept, the cupboard is not quite as bare as everyone thinks it is. So that I just let you know that for off top. But I'll say that Treylon Burks will definitely get 1,000 yards this year receiving. Him and Robert Woods will definitely be a comparable duo this year.
And Maui, your hot take for the South?
I don't have one, man. I've been trying to make up one for a minute, bro. It's really hard. I don't want to be disrespectful to Stu, man. He's a guest, and I don't want to do that, man. I'm not a big Matt Ryan believer, man. I don't, just go ahead, coach. You got it, man. You got it, coach. I don't want to do that.
That's fine. That's fine. At the end of the year,
you know, man, I'm not a mistake, baby. Not a mistake.
Hey, at the end of the year, coach will have us back on, and we'll see what Matt Ryan's done at that point.
Right. I hope so. He look like a nice guy.
Yeah, we'll probably.
The strip club in Atlanta thought he was so nice, and then when he was leaving, they threw a party and they were sad he was leaving.
Right. I'm gonna be honest with you. We had a gentleman on here last year during the season, and I asked him that question. Remember, Coach? I asked him that question. I said, "Do you really feel like y'all moving forward with Matt?" And I think, remember that? And I said,
"Yeah."
And I said, the NFL has changed, man. You got to move a little bit. And he was like, well, I really still, everybody like him. But he was like, he still got some few years on his contract. You know what I mean? That was last year, right?
Yeah, I got Myles Garrett, Fox 5 Atlanta. Yeah.
Right. That's right. I can't believe I forgot his name.
Let me
And
leave you with this. He's a little more mobile than you think.
Yeah.
well, hey, I'm just saying. And he was like, yeah, I understand what you're saying. He said, but he's still in the contract, so hopefully we can put some things around him and we can get the best out of him. And I was like, okay. So look, I don't have nobody in this team. I don't like the Titans. You know what I mean? They messed up my Steelers at one time when we was going undefeated. But even though we won the game, they damn sure damaged us. So I don't care for the Titans. So I'm hoping y'all do well. Go ahead, Coach. You got it, bro. You got it, bro.
So let's get into our AFC South record predictions. First, I'm gonna go with you first, Mike. How will the AFC South? What you got in the AFC South record wise?
Well, I would say the Titans will win the division again, but I'm not going to say that this time.
Come join the good side.
Here's why I will say that they won't win the division, because they actually see the Colts very early in the season. It's going to take them a little while to kind of get themselves all together with the new different pieces that they do have, perhaps. So, with that being said, I'll give the Colts winning the division at 11-6. I've got the Titans at 10-7. I've got the Jags at 6-11, and the Texans at 4-13.
Nice. Steve, what you got?
I also got the Colts at 11-6, winning the division. Titans at 9-8. The Jags 7-10. And then I've given Houston a little bit more credit because I like Davis Mills. I have them 6-11.
Maui, what you got?
I'm trying to figure out 6 wins for Houston. Ooh. But go ahead, man. Go ahead.
I'm gonna start with the Texans with Houston. I gave them 1-16. Man, I can't. yeah. And just let y'all Anyway, I got the Jags at 7-10. I got the Colts not winning the division. I got them at 5-12. Come on, Stu, don't be that way. Don't do that, man. Don't do that. Don't do that, man.
We went.
That's a hot take right there.
We won 8 games. We won 9 games with Carson Wentz. Matt Ryan's 3 times the quarterback Carson Wentz ever thought about being.
Hey. I'm a man, man. It's okay, man. I could be wrong, but I really was looking at it. I was like, it's the Colts, man. I know y'all a very physical team. I got one of the best running backs. I got it, but that's what I put. And then I got the Titans at 9-8. I really didn't have them. You know what I mean? Because I know they traded AJ Brown. They got a rookie, and I'm not a big Tannehill fan. So, hey, Stu, don't do that, man. Don't give me the side, the neck like that, man. It's just me throwing it out there. I could be wrong. I'm gonna be rooting for him.
Basically, what he said is, in so many words, that the AFC South is the worst division in football. But he just didn't.
No, I didn't say that. I didn't say that. No.
Look at the records you just compiled for that division.
Yeah, I was looking at it. I mean, no disrespect. I was looking at it, and I was like, I was just trying to be honest, because I was like, is Tennessee? I still think they can win the division. I'm like, but are they still going to be as dangerous as they were? And then I was listening to people speak, and I was like, well, that's a lot of pressure on Tannehill, man. Because even if they do win the division, are they going to still move forward with him? You know what I mean?
Here's the thing you gotta also think of when it comes to the Titans, and nobody talks about it because they all are hung up on the offense.
Right.
That defense is returning pretty much everyone.
Right.
Everyone up front. Autry is up front. You got Jeffrey Simmons, the second best defensive tackle in the NFL.
Right.
I mean, and you got Harold Landry, and you got Bud Dupree, who actually is healthy this year from a knee injury.
Right. Ooh, Bud Dupree. Oh, that's so wrong. That is exactly who I was talking about. Y'all heard Bud Dupree. And, I ain't gonna never forget it. You know what? You're right. This is the worst division in the league. This is the worst division in the league. I ain't gonna never forget that. That was my year. That was my year. My bad. Hit a nerve.
So actually I had the Titans win this division at 11-6. I got the Colts at 11-6. I got the Jacksonville Jaguars at 7-10. And Stu, I got the Houston Texans at 5-12. So
So we're
you have them
close.
at
We're close.
6. But I got 5. I think 5 is a number. But yeah.
Damn them Texans.
And definitely looking forward to playing you guys this year because obviously the Washington Commanders do play the AFC South. So I'm looking forward to those classic matchups. Carson Wentz goes back to Indianapolis. We got Doug
You know he's gonna throw in that game alone. He could go the rest of the year and not throw for 100 yards. In that game alone, he's probably gonna throw for 450, 4 touchdowns, and make us look like an idiot.
But here's the kicker, Stu. Here's the kicker. And when the crunch time comes, he's going to make that one decision to give y'all a chance to win the game. And
Not against the Colts, though. He'll do it against everybody else. It's not the Colts.
Oh, no. He's going to do it. He's going to do it for y'all.
Yeah.
I'm telling you. He did the same thing for the Titans twice last year. Made bad decisions twice at the wrong time.
I know. I watched
and
it.
helped the Titans win the game twice.
You don't have to tell me.
So let's put a bow on this tonight's Couch Coach Live, man. I'm gonna go around the horn, fellas. Mike, I'll go with you first. Social media and plug any of your upcoming projects and what you got going on.
All right. You can find me on Twitter at Mike Patton 82. It's at Mike Patton 82, MikePatton 82. Also, got a couple shows this week. First one will be with Braden Gall, who is ESPN producer on Sport 40 Sports and actually covers the Titans. And let's see, I'll have another guest this week. It's escaping my mind. But I've got Chauncey Deion Sanders, which that's going to be an interesting story about him and Deion Sanders meeting each other at the Black Sports Business Symposium in June. I was there and I saw the whole moment. It was classic. But yeah, I got him coming on the show this week too. So
yeah. Stu, what you got going on, brother?
All right. First of all, I just want to say, you ever need anybody to talk Colts, you know where to find me. All right. Second of all, you can find me on Twitter at StuPoc5, or you can find my podcast at Stu Morning on Twitter as well. My podcast is The Morning Brew with Stu. New episode coming out tomorrow. I'll be talking with Greg Rakestraw. He's the post-game radio host for the Indianapolis Colts and their preseason TV voice. We're kind of just going to talk about the Colts, some storylines for training camp, those types of things since the preseason, since their first game is this Saturday. We kind of just talk about some things and storylines in the preseason and what to expect, I think, from the Colts this season and different types of players. Other than that, the other thing I have coming out is every Monday I do my division rankings. Next week is the NFC West. This week was the NFC West. So next week will be the AFC West. Maybe I'm backwards. I don't even know where I'm at anymore. It's Tuesday, all right? But let me just say this, that we do have the division standings coming out. So there will be some, you'll get my opinions as to where I think different guys are going to go or different teams are going to be and all those kinds of things. And then as we get closer to the year, I'm going to give you, like I did last year, my prediction for Coach of the Year, MVP, Offensive Player of the Year, all those types of things. So stay tuned for that.
All right. What you got, Maui?
Oh, man. Sean Morgan, Facebook. DT Morgan 78 Instagram. Appreciate you fellas coming on here, man. I was out last week, some health issues, some stuff going on, and I had to do some studying today, so I'm starting to get that feel back that football is coming. And I appreciate you guys making me more intrigued to some of the stuff you look into. I promise, Stu, I mean what I say. I mean what I say. But I want to give a great shout out to my little brother, man. He just got his first job in New Mexico, at New Mexico University. He is the director of player development. So I want to send love and shout out to him. But hey, man, great show, Coach.
Yeah, absolutely. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Under Couch Coach Live. We continue our previews. So we'll be starting our NFC and AFC North previews starting on Thursday and Friday. We'll start with the Baltimore Ravens and the Minnesota Vikings. And then we'll have two teams for the next 4 nights, leading to our actual NFC AFC preview next Tuesday night at 8 o'clock. Also follow I have my Washington Commanders podcast, Commanders in the Chat. Anywhere social media, Commanders ITC. And I definitely appreciate Stu, appreciate you, Mike, for coming on, talking about the AFC South for us. And Stu came in for the NFC South as well. Definitely appreciate you, Mal, for coming on as well, too, man. So this has been this week's Couch Coach Live, man. We'll catch you guys next week, and we're out.
You're welcome.